Good day, grade 12s. This is the last lesson for chapter 13. We are going to look at the policy suggestions. This is not an essay question. This will be used as an 8-mark discuss question or as part of a data response question, or at most it can be the additional part to the essay question. All right. So obviously, when we're looking at policy suggestions, we are looking at what can we do to increase the tourism industry, to help the tourism industry to grow. So the Department of Tourism, that's the National Department of Tourism, will lead and direct tourism policy formulation at a national level. So they are basically responsible for formulating any policies regarding tourism on a national level. It is a national department. And as I said, these policies will be aimed at growing the tourism industry. We want to capitalize on the tourism industry. We want to see what can we possibly do to help the tourist industry to grow. And the Department of Tourism works in partnership with SA Tourism or SATOUR, the tourism industry, any other relevant stakeholders. Okay, stakeholders, remember we said, is anybody that has any kind of interest in the tourism industry, if they can benefit from it, if they are affected by the tourist industry, they would be a stakeholder, such as the different provinces, the provincial departments, NGOs, non-government organizations that are involved with tourism, civil society and the people in general, the labor unions, and also any business involved in tourism. It aims to ensure and accelerate the physical delivery of tourism benefits to South Africa. So in other words, what we are trying to do is we're trying to increase the benefits of tourism to South Africa through the service delivery, speeding up the service delivery in the tourist industry. SATOUR is responsible for the marketing of the South African tourist industry, and that is a public enterprise, in other words, owned by the government. You will see on Teams, I will upload some of the adverts that was released by SATOUR, the South African tourist industry. I'm not going to send them on the WhatsApp groups, but I'm going to load them on Teams so that you can just see what kind of advertising they actually do for the country. Right, obviously the focus will be the advertising of South Africa as a tourist destination. Okay, then we have the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. That is the organization for the travel and tourism private sector in South Africa. Okay, so obviously remember we spoke about the PPPs. Your TBCSA represents travel and tourism, and obviously they want to be the link, the middleman basically between the private sector and the public sector. So they want to influence government decisions in the interest of the travel and tourism industry. So when the government has to make decisions regarding the tourist industry, whether traveling is going to be allowed or not, for example, under COVID conditions, obviously the Tourism Business Council will lobby with the government. They will liaise with the government to try and encourage the government, or to get the government to make their decisions in such a way that it encourages people to travel so that the tourist industry can benefit from that. Okay, so the first heading that we are going to look at is in terms of marketing. All right, now marketing and promotion, advertising basically of South Africa's tourist industry. It has two dimensions, an international and a local dimension. And you'll see on Teams, I'm going to make two folders, one for kind of international tourism and another one for local tourism. All right. Now, obviously, our tourist attractions can gain from any kind of promotion or advertising that it receives in other countries as a tourist destination. So basically, we are going to focus in our marketing of the country. We are going to focus on what we have to offer in terms of tourist destinations. So our tourist attractions will be kind of the focus area of some of these adverts. Okay, and again, tourist attractions in all the different provinces can also be promoted by advertising locally. We want to promote advantages of tourism in South Africa. Okay, so we want local people also to travel to different provinces to go and experience the different tourist attractions at the different destinations. All right. Now, when we talk about promoting the advantages of tourism, we are talking about generic promotions. We are not going to be promoting a specific tourist attraction. Okay, so we are just basically advertising the country as a tourist destination. We're not going to be focusing on a specific tourist attraction that we want people to come and see. We're going to focus on the country in total, why people should be coming to the country. All right. Now, SA Tourism was created to promote the generic dimensions of tourism, both internationally and nationally. The idea is to promote our country as a tourist destination. All right. In an international context, the focus is going to be to encourage people to include South Africa as a tourist destination when they plan their itinerary. When people in other countries decide where are they going to travel to, how many days are they staying where, which things do they want to go and see. So obviously we want them to consider South Africa as an option when they decide where they're going to travel. All right. So when travel agents also present their clients with options, we want us, South Africa, as a travel destination to be included as one of the options that is presented by the travel agents to their clients as a possible tourist destination. South Africa in total, remember, not a specific tourist destination. All right, and then non-specific criteria. Okay, what we use when we do this generic advertising, we are going to focus not on, as I said, a specific tourist attraction. We are going to focus on generic things, such as if you come to South Africa, you will get good value for money. Obviously, because our exchange rate is very weak, the rand is very weak. So to encourage Americans to come here, basically, we're going to play on the fact that our currency is very weak. For every $1 they bring, they're basically going to get 16 or 17 rand. So it is a relatively cheap holiday for them to come here. Okay, you'll see we focus on the world in one country. There's one of the ads that I'm going to load on Teams. You must go and look at all of them. It's really quite well done. All right, we whatever you want to experience kind of is in South Africa. So we're going to focus on kind of the different tourism. If you want to experience different culture, we've got it. If you want to do adventure tourism, we've got it. If you want to see paleontology and the cradle of humankind, we've got that. If you want to climb mountains, we've got lots. If you want to see the Big Five, we've got that. All right. So we are basically presenting them that South Africa is a world in one country. Whatever they want to come and see, they can literally come and see it in South Africa. All right. We have the paleontology. We have all those fossil sites and whatever that people can go and see, the cultural diversity, all the different cultures that we have in our country, the extremely nice climate, holiday-friendly climate, nice and hot, safety. There we go. I have to emphasize that, we, as a tourist destination, we are safe. Okay, I think sometimes we would be lying if we do that. Okay, the friendliness of the people in South Africa, the fact that our country is clean, it's tranquil, it's peaceful. People can come here and rest and relax, get away from the rat race. All right. And then in national context, to encourage, in other words, South Africans to travel within their own country, we're going to obviously try and persuade people that when they take holidays, to spend their holiday in their own country, to not go to another country for their holiday. We want them to spend their holidays in South Africa by showing them there's so many things that they haven't seen yet. We encourage them to take more than one holiday in a year, not to limit themselves to one holiday a year. We want to show them the wide variety that South Africa has to offer. They don't have to go to a different country to experience different things. They can experience it in their own country. All right. Now, there's also other role players that promote specific purposes and destinations. Okay, so literally specific travel destinations, specific tourist attractions can have advertising of their own. All right. And then it will not be generic advertising. Then obviously it'll be more targeted advertising, focusing on a specific travel destination, a specific kind of tourist attraction, or whatever the case may be. All right. So if we focus then on the purposes, to advertise a tourist destination because it has conference centers, or we advertise it because it offers opportunities for shopping or business or medical tourism or cultural diversity or ecotourism in terms of biodiversity or hiking or sport, recreation, whatever. So in these non-generic advertising, we can focus on one of these things. Okay. As I said, we can also focus on the destination. All right, we want to advertise a specific destination. We're going to advertise all of our World Heritage sites, or we're going to advertise the V&A waterfront in Cape Town. We're going to advertise the Kruger National Park, the Kango Caves, the Big Hole at Kimberley, the Wild Coast, the Wild Frontier. We're going to advertise our accommodation, the Cradle of Humankind, the different restaurants, whatever, at these destinations. That will be specific advertising and not generic advertising. Okay. Now, there is a very big need for government to be involved in the marketing of tourism. Okay, obviously, they have to promote our country both locally and internationally. That's why you will see the ads that I'm going to upload on Teams for you is ads made by SATTOA, South African Tourism, okay, which is a government organization. It's their responsibility to show the country in a good light. All right, they use different slogans, okay, also to promote our country. Things like Discover South Africa, Rediscover Yourself. Obviously, that is playing on the fact that we are the cradle of humankind. Africa is the first continent that kind of merged together whatever that was a continent, seen as a continent, whatever. So if people want to come and discover their roots, South Africa is the place to come and do that. Okay. Second slogan there is whatever you are looking for, it is right here in South Africa. Okay, again, the focus here is on it doesn't matter what kind of a tourist experience you want to have. Adventure tourism, just rest and relaxation, cultural tourism, everything. We have all kinds of tourism. We have destinations for all of these things. So whatever kind of a holiday people are looking for, they can find it in South Africa. Okay, now your advertising and marketing, obviously, it is important to sustain your demand in existing markets, so to keep the people that already are traveling, to keep them interested in your country as a destination, but also to generate a demand from new markets. Okay, so we want people that have never been to South Africa to also consider South Africa as a destination the next time that they plan a holiday. All right, so it also aims to, very importantly, rectify any negative images of the country. Okay, just remember when people watch the news in other countries, the news only ever shows stuff that is sensationalist. Okay, so they focus mainly on negative things. They're going to focus on the crime and the fact that children are being abducted, whatever. That's newsworthy. So if we don't advertise the country and focus on the good points, people are not going to know that our country does actually have good points. Okay, it's up to us to make sure that we rectify, that we fix that negative image of South Africa that is out there. All right. Now, different campaigns that was focused on in terms of their advertising. In 2005, it was called the Welcome Campaign, right? Because we wanted the people in South Africa to be encouraged to be friendly to the tourists so that we can be good hosts, to give tourists a good experience so that they would come back, okay? The theme there was tourism is everybody's business, all right? Because we want people to believe that everybody benefits from tourism. It's not just the people that are directly involved in tourism. As a country, everybody can benefit, but obviously we have to make the tourists feel welcome so that they would want to come back. All right. Then in 2009, there was the Embrace, Enrich, Awaken Experience South Africa. Okay, again, just to promote tourism in general in South Africa. The SADC 2010 joint campaign. The theme there was One Team, 15 Nations. That was an advertising campaign that promoted tourism in all the SADC member countries, 15 member countries of the SADC. So the focus there wasn't only in South Africa. All right, then Adventure is Wanted campaign of 2010. Obviously, that was promoting adventure tourism, to show South Africa's adventure tourism and to encourage people that are adventurous to come and experience us as a destination. All right. And then also in 2012, the Minister of Tourism launched a domestic campaign in Cape Town to encourage all South Africans to travel in their own country. Okay? All the others were basically focused on international tourism, all these other campaigns, but this last one was focused on local people. Now, how do we encourage local people to travel in their own countries? But go and have a look on Teams. I am going to upload those adverts there. It's really actually quite nice. All right, in terms of infrastructure, okay, what should our policy be in terms of infrastructure? Okay, obviously, we said that tourism needs all kinds of infrastructure, whether it's economic infrastructure, the physical infrastructure like roads and harbors and airports and accommodation, whatever, whether it's social infrastructure like medical care or basic services like water supply and sanitation and electricity. All right. All of these forms of infrastructure, yes, we said they are essential for the tourism, the tourist industry, because tourists will only come here if they can have a comfortable experience here. But it's not just for tourism. It's not just the tourist that benefits from any investment in infrastructure. It also benefits local people in our own country. All right. So it's very important that we maintain existing infrastructure properly, look after it properly for the sake of both local citizens, domestic travelers, as well as foreign travelers. Right, so when we look at policy recommendations, when we want to see what is our policy in terms of infrastructure in relation to tourism, there's these considerations, three different considerations, right? We need, first of all, we need more infrastructure. All right. In other words, the physical amount of infrastructure should increase as the population grows, as the tourist industry increases, and as the economy expands. We cannot just say, okay, well, the infrastructure that we have is enough and it's sufficient, and we just maintain that. We always have to look, if the population is growing, we are going to need more physical infrastructure. We're going to need to improve the carrying capacity of the roads. We need more roads. We need more railway lines, more aeroplanes, more harbors, bigger airports, railway stations. All of this forms of physical infrastructure must be expanded. Specifically Eskom. Now we know that we have problems with capacity at Eskom. We should increase their capacity all the time, because the more people there are, the bigger the demand is on electricity, and we cannot supply electricity unless we produce it first. So the focus very much should be on Eskom creating enough electricity for us to be supplying the growing population. Same with water provision, okay? Water provision also needs to be increased all the time. The more people there are in the country, whether it's local people, whether it's tourists, it doesn't matter. We have to make sure that there's enough water for everybody, okay? Because inconvenience of bottlenecks and interruptions, when there's not enough, that scares the tourists away. All right, when Cape Town didn't have water, tourism came to a standstill. Nobody wants to go on holiday in a place where they cannot even bath, when everybody has like a liter of water for consumption per day. That sucks. All right, it scares the tourists away. They don't want to come here because they know they're not going to have access to water. And that damages our reputation as a destination, because these tourists go back to where they came from. They tell everybody that, you know what, they went to South Africa, there wasn't even water. Every single day for 4 hours, there was no electricity and they couldn't do anything, and the shops were closing or whatever. That creates a very negative impression of our country. The focus is to promote our country in the positive way. And this, if there's a lack of infrastructure, it is obviously going to damage our reputation. All right. There, when expansion is not possible, obviously we should upgrade what we have already. Okay. So where it's possible, we need to increase the amount of infrastructure, more roads, more harbors, whatever, but we can also upgrade them. When it's not possible to expand and build more, we take what we have and we just make what we have a little bit better. All right. So for example, the dirt roads, sand roads must be converted into tarred roads, right? And for example, if we expand the airports, we make the airports bigger. We're not building another one. We take an existing airport, we make it bigger so that it can handle more traffic. That will be part of upgrading. And then lastly, very important, we should implement always the newest technology that is available. All right, because new technology is more productive. So whenever there's new technology available, it should be implemented in our country. For example, in transport and communications. Data signals. Nobody uses landlines. Very few people use landlines anymore. We should focus on the provision of data, Wi-Fi services, and wherever. All right. Also vital for businesses and individuals. Obviously, it makes individual households' lives better. It makes businesses' lives better. But it is also very important for marketing and promoting our travel destinations. Right. People want to know, am I going to have an access to a Wi-Fi signal there? Am I going to be able to talk to the people back home? We need to be able to share information. People need to get information about our tourist destinations. This is only possible with new technology. If tourist destinations, if accommodation, they don't have websites yet, they don't have access to new technology. Okay? They are not going to get tourists there because tourists don't even know that they are there. All right. Then what is also important is the accessibility and the infrastructure in the rural areas must be improved. Remember, we said that a lot of our tourist destinations are actually in the rural areas. So it's important that we make the rural areas accessible. If the tourists can't get there, then the local people can't benefit from tourism. All right. If your secondary roads are properly maintained, gravel and dirt roads, they scrape them very often. Yeah? They don't have to tar them necessarily, but maintain them. Yeah? Make sure that it's not full of potholes, that you don't need a 4x4 to actually drive on that road. Maintain them, scrape them regularly. Then obviously domestic tourism will also increase, okay? Because a lot of South Africans have a rural background. People live in the city. When they go on holiday, they want to get away from the hustle and bustle. They like to travel into the more rural areas to go and relax and not have the sounds of the city around them. They want the silence of nature, but obviously they need to be able to get there. So the roads going there, that is very, very important. Okay, and a spin-off of this also is that when we upgrade the small little roads, the secondary roads, it means that there's going to be less traffic on the highways, yeah, and the roads that have all the lots and lots of traffic. All right. And that can obviously reduce the number of accidents and the traffic congestion, etc., etc. Okay. The third focus area, when we look at the policy considerations, is education and training. All right. Now, obviously, when people come, when people travel, they want to receive good service. All right. The minute that somebody does not have good service, if their experience was bad, that is very negative publicity for us. Okay. So this includes all contact points with tourists, everybody that gets into contact, that works face to face with the tourists, whether it's the people at the immigration, at customs, right? The people providing the transport, the people driving them around, at the accommodations, the receptionists there, the cleaners, the whatever, the financial institutions if they have to exchange currencies. It is very important that we focus on good service delivery. All right. So what we need to do is the quality assurance program that is aimed at tourism accommodation and conference facilities, that needs to be extended to include all other aspects of the industry. Okay, so we actually have a quality assurance program for accommodation and conference facilities where they physically look and monitor the level of service delivery, but that should be expanded to other aspects of tourist industry and not just concentrated on accommodation and conference facilities, right? Then additional standards need to be developed to cover tourist activities. Obviously, if we want to measure service excellence, we need something to measure it against. And that is where your standards are going to come in. We should set certain standards, measurable standards, whereby we can measure our service against those standards to see if we are reaching that high level of quality or not. Okay, also very important is the training. Okay, greater efforts must be made to improve training of previously disadvantaged groups so that they can enter the industry with the correct standards of service. We cannot have people that is not super, super friendly with the tourists, that's grumpy or whatever, because then the tourists are not going to have a good experience. So we need to provide people, anybody that wants to enter the tourist industry, we need to provide them with the correct training and emphasize how important service excellence is. Right, so there will be an improvement if more tourist workers takes advantage of the training opportunities that is out there. Okay, the SETA, the tourism SETA is this one, TETA. Okay, that's the SETA that provides training, in-service training for people that's wanting to get involved in the tourist industry. And part of what they emphasize is obviously good service delivery. All right, South African College of Tourism, they run courses on running lodges and guest houses and whatever. Obviously, there's a lot of training out there that if you want to get involved in the tourist industry, that people can participate in. All right, and a focus there. Obviously, the better trained you are, the better service you are actually going to provide. All right, so what we are saying is that adequate education and training awareness programs are also required to address the deficiencies. So there where service delivery is not yet superb, we need to focus on those areas, provide some training so we can upgrade those services as well. And what needs to be addressed is the shortcomings regarding previously neglected groups in terms of job leveling. Okay, we need to, in other words, have a policy that is going to do this training on the basis that everybody has equal access. Now we need to level the playing field. We need to also give previously disadvantaged people access into this industry. All right. I've already spoken about the SETA. All right, and then the last policy consideration that we're going to look at is the environmental management. Obviously, we have said a lot about the environment in previous lessons. Obviously, we said that tourism can have both a negative and a positive impact on the environment. But what is important in terms of our policy considerations is that we are aware that tourism at any given point in time, always, it has to be conducted in a responsible manner, because our scarce resources, land, water, electricity, any forest, the heritage sites, the natural sites, that we preserve them so that future generations can have access to them as well. All right. So the policy here is very, very important. We have to look at conservation, preservation, sustainable management of tourism, so that tourism happens in a sustainable manner, so that we don't destroy our resources now, so that in the future we have less to offer for the tourists. Now, whatever we have available to offer now, people in the future should have access to the same thing. So we need to look after the environment so that we can sustain the tourist industry for many, many years to come. All right, and this is the end basically then of chapter 13. As I said, go and look at the videos that I'm uploading on Teams as well.